Greetings and konnichiwa, and welcome to the Onyx Tavern. I'm your host, Rick the Barkeep, bringing you Podcast 101 here at the Tavern, presented by Hirotaku.com. Well, it took me several months to actually go ahead and do it, but I have finally gotten through every single episode of Gosei Sentai Dairanger. Yes, I was able to download the entire series, watch it, and between finals and work and other schoolwork and stuff, I think 4 months was a generous time for me to get through all 50 episodes. But I did it, and I first want to go ahead and say I really enjoyed the series. If you guys have never seen Dairanger, go ahead and like it. It's actually much better in presentation and effects and story than even some of the current Sentai series. I mean, it's definitely better than Goseiger. I'll go ahead and tell you guys that. Dairanger better than Goseiger, and of course Gosei Sentai. Haha, there we are. Anyway, it was a really good series, and I really enjoyed it. But one of the things I actually enjoyed about the series, and conversely, what I also dislike about the series, happens within the latter half of the show. Now, I'm not going to give any real spoilers here, and I would suggest you guys, again, go watch it yourself, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about a particular character that does appear within the series, and I want to go ahead and talk about the nature of this character, and what I like, and particularly what I dislike about them, and their overall effectiveness to the plot. Now, also, forgive me here, because I've only been studying Japanese for about 6 months, and I'm still having problems. My tongue is lazy, is what Sensei told me. But basically, in the series, around episode 37, we have the introduction of Daijinryuu, or Daijinryu. Basically, the great god dragon. Now, for those of you who have not seen Dairanger, this creature is the Japanese equivalent to Serpentera, Lord Zed's war Zord. Now, of course, in Power Rangers, it's just a Zord that Zed has with the ability to destroy planets, but constantly runs out of power, and of course is eventually destroyed by Cole and Forever Red. But we're not here to talk about Serpentera. We're talking about his much more interesting, much cooler Japanese counterpart, the Daijinryuu. Daijinryu, again, I'm having trouble pronouncing this. The great god dragon appears from space, out of nowhere, no explanation to it, to get itself almost involved in the conflict between the Dairanger and the Gorma. Now, as Dai Mugen, or at least his human counterpart, explains to us within the series, this creature is, all-powerful with the ability to destroy planets, like Serpentera. But is neither good nor evil, but it involves itself within wars and battles and so forth to bring about peace and balance to the universe, basically. And actually, I don't think peace is the right word, but balance, kind of that yin and yang, which is kind of where it comes from. A sense of order, it would be the best way to go ahead and describe it. So, in episode 37, it comes down amongst the battle between the Dairanger and one of the Gorma monsters, and threatens to destroy Earth if the conflict does not end. If they continue to fight, it will destroy the entire planet. Now, what I like about this, within the context of the series, is when it comes down, what you get a sense of is that this battle between Dairanger and the Gorma has been going on and on and on and on. And, it's kind of, we had the subplots and interesting stories to it, but it does seem that it's kind of gotten repetitive at this point. It's like, oh, same old, same old. Here's a pachinko monster. We're going to go ahead and fight it. We got to do this. We got to do that. And there's actually another subplot involving Ko that's going on at this time. But again, I won't get into that specifically here. But it seems like, everything is just happening as it normally would. And then, in the midst of the battle, the god dragon comes down and threatens to destroy a planet if they don't stop. And that is a precipitous into the final arc of the series, which, again, I'm not going to really get into, but the idea is that there needs to be some sort of ceasefire or treaty between the two factions to prevent the Earth from being destroyed. Because, here's the interesting thing. The Gorma in the series do not want to annihilate the planet. They do want to conquer it. They want to take over. They want to be the rulers of the world. So, of course, for this to go ahead and happen is against their agenda. And, of course, it's against the agenda of the Dairanger. They both want to bring peace to the planet, but in their own way. but through this piece that they're trying to achieve, their battle has called in this creature. And again, even up to the final episode, I mean, this creature is pretty much there up until the final episode, and the idea is that if they fight each other, if there is a prolonged battle and attacks and so forth, it's going to come in and it's going to go ahead and start killing people, destroying the world, forcing the hand of either side to stop what they're doing. And that's really interesting because of this event, it makes certain characters do things that they would not normally do within the series, reveals things that with the characters that we did not know, and really changes the plot altogether. Now, I will point out here that there is something of a plot hole with this, simply because there are several episodes in which this the Great God Dragon does not appear, and yet battling is still going on, and yet he's not called to it. I don't necessarily get that, and maybe I'll talk about that a little bit later. But again, it fills in for the rest of the series and what's going to go ahead and happen. So all those things I do like. And the creature is menacing. It does look powerful. And the sheer size, the weird thing is like its head is bigger than like one of the tallest buildings in Tokyo, yet its foot is as big as the Daijinryu, which, if you look at the size chart, is not really that big. There's a size issue, continuity, and all that, but we can go ahead and forgive that. So yeah, where was I going? Yeah, I like a lot of things about it. Its design is cool. It's awesome. All that good stuff. But I really want to go ahead and talk to you guys today about the things I do not like about this, or at least it leaves me confused and wondering what were they kind of thinking with the writing. And of course, I can't really find any documentation about what the point was of introducing this creature into the series. I mean, did they really want to tie it in? Was it some sort of mandate from the studio? If you guys know of any Japanese sites that maybe have this or places you can point to, please let me know, because again, I really can't find anything that's going to go ahead and help me with this. But I'm going to go ahead and speculate on a couple of things, and again, things that just don't make a lot of sense to me. First of all, the creature has no origin. All Daijinryu says is that it comes from space. That's about it. We don't know who built it, who sent it on its mission. We don't even know if it really is alive in a lot of ways. Because first of all, I guess you could call it a Deus Ex Machina, since it is essentially God from Machine, and it helps to resolve the plot of the series, which is the most clever way I've ever seen people do it, and nobody's ever called it a Deus Ex Machina, at least nobody I've been talking to on the forums and so forth. So it has that aspect of it, and if you want to call it a Deus Ex Machina, then you don't really need an idea of where it came from in its origin. But I find it odd that there is a creature out there flying through space who has the ability to annihilate entire planets just because of battle and conflict, and yet we don't know anything about it. I mean, first of all, is this kind of like a Brainiac thing? Is this where somebody built it, it went rogue, destroyed its creator, and now is going through the universe, perverted sense of what its mission was? I mean, even look at V'ger. V'ger's entire mission was to gather all that is knowable and bring it back to Earth. So what was the Great God Dragon's original programming exactly? If it was a war machine to end a war, did it annihilate its creators and then just like, well, I need to go and annihilate these others and so forth and all that? I mean, that's the first thing, is like, is it a machine that was built that has gone out of control? If it is not a machine that was built by somebody, then is it a natural entity that was created through some form of evolution, some form of magic, or is just a being that was there at the creation of the universe? Because machine life can exist. We assume that machine life only exists when somebody builds it, because it's a little hard to wrap your mind around machines naturally coming into being by themselves without an actual creator, which goes back to the whole God thing, and we can have that debate. But if it is a natural being that has gone through the universe, how old is it? How many planets has it destroyed? What is its sense of being exactly? Because the weird thing is, we only get a couple of visceral noises coming from the creature, but we never hear it give commands. We don't hear it talk or speak. We don't know what this creature is actually trying to go ahead and say. All we know is what it does through its actions. And its actions are bringing balance by destroying those that disrupt the balance, basically. I think it goes a little out of control when it tries to destroy an entire planet. Nevertheless, it kind of goes out of control to bring this sense of balance. So we don't know anything about this creature. Further, it has come to Earth. Now here's a question I have to go ahead and ask. Why is this the first time it's coming to Earth? Now some people have argued that is coming to Earth because of the power sources that both the Dairanger and the Gorma use. That the battle between their two separate powers is what draws this creature to the planet. The ki or chi that they use from the Dairangers, and of course the villains use the same power as well. Some people argue, hey, well that's what's drawn them to the Earth, because that's why we've never seen them before. Now there is like a insinuation, and I can't find exact dialogue in the episodes to state this, and it seems to be more of speculation on other people's part, but it seems to be that this creature did originally come 6,000 years ago when the original Dai tribe and Gorma tribe did battle against one another and did help settle that conflict. I can't find anything in the episodes to support that, but that seems to be something that's going around with multiple people. And it is because of their conflict, specifically the Dairanger and the Gorma, is what draws this creature to Earth. Again, since I do not actually see that anywhere within the exact episodes, maybe it's in non-canonical sources, manga, or magazines over in Japan. If anybody can give me actual proof, I will go ahead and believe it. But right now, I don't believe that to be the actual reasoning. But if we don't think that's the actual reasoning, why hasn't this creature actually appeared before? And why hasn't this creature appeared since? If the creature is meant to bring a sense of order and balance to the universe, I can imagine him going to other planets and doing this, but why has he only ever come to Earth once? Now, there are those of you who are going to say Dairanger is completely contained within itself and is not separate to, is not part of the other Sentai universes. Well, I tell you what, we're going to go ahead and explore that with Dairanger being self-contained universe, and Dairanger being part of the greater Super Sentai universe. And let's actually start there, because what I don't particularly understand is, why has he never shown up before? All right? If we say that Dairanger is part of every Sentai that has ever been and ever will be, then why did this creature not appear during the Zyurangers battle? During Jetman, Five-Man, Jacka, Go Ranger, how come this creature never appeared between their battles to settle it and create a sense of order on the planet Earth? And again, if they're not attracted by the specific power source that they're using and drawn together by conflict, then how come no other conflicts have been great enough to stop this, to bring this creature back to Earth? And actually, another reason I don't believe it's by the specific power source that the Dairanger and the Gorma use is because this creature travels across the universe bringing order. So either A, everybody in the universe is using these types of powers, and it can be brought, any planet that exists out there, or if Dairanger indicates right here, they're the only ones using it, shouldn't he keep coming back to Earth? And if he keeps coming back to Earth, then where is he during this entire time? Because, again, Dairangers are the only one that this thing got involved with. But I keep getting off topic right here, or get a little off track, because it's a very interesting topic that I want to go ahead and talk about. But even if we take the Sentai out of the equation, how come this creature never appeared during, say, the Second World War when, Japan was bombarded by nuclear armaments? Because I'm going to be honest, I think nuclear bombs are probably more powerful than anything the Dairanger or the Gorma have been using up to that point in the series. So this creature only came in 1993 to settle this battle between these two factions. Doesn't make much sense when you consider World War and previous Sentai teams and everything that they're doing. But of course, that's the theory if Dairanger is a contained series, or if it's actually part of all of Sentai. But what if it's a contained series? Well, even if that's the case, then why did this creature not appear during Gokaiger? Because if you still want to argue that Dairanger is a self-contained series, what about Gokaiger? They transformed to Dairanger multiple times, used the key energy, and yet this creature never appeared when that happened. And even if the key energy is not the key to actually bringing the creature to Earth, and conflict is, don't you think that the Zanyak would have to deal with this creature? Or at a previous time, the Zanyak might have ran into this somewhere in its Conquerors of the Universe? I mean, heck, if the logic follows here, the Zanyak should have been destroyed a long time ago by this creature, right? Because we know for a fact that Dairanger and Gokaiger exist in the same universe, whether that be a movie universe, versus universe, or whatever. We know that this creature must exist coinciding with the Zanyak and the Gokaiger. And yet, it never once played into the plot, or the story, or the mythos of Gokaiger, despite the fact that everybody's theory about using the key is there, bringing conflict to the universe, being a shared universe and all that. It never reappeared within the series. And what I'm getting at here is that you can't create an all-powerful being that brings order to the universe and can destroy planets and only have it show up in one show. You have created a threat that is immensely powerful, and you're only going to use it once? I don't particularly get that. Now, I'm not a big comics fan. I mean, I know things about comics, but to me, it would be kind of like Galactus only appeared in one story and never ever appeared again in any comic at any time. That would be pretty stupid, don't you think? That we'd have this very powerful character, but it doesn't reappear when logically it should. And that's what I'm getting at, is the creature does not logically appear at any other point within the series, prior or after. And why is that? You invented this powerful creature that's of immense destruction, and it is literally the end of the world. Not the end of civilization as we know it, but the end of the entire planet is what this thing can actually bring to your heroes, to your villains, to everybody. And you forget about him? You ignore him after the series? I mean, why didn't we see this thing again the next season, Kaku Ranger, or O Ranger, or anything after? How come this is not the most powerful creature within all of Sentai? Yes, we have seen gods and godlike beings within the show. I mean, that's not in dispute here. But this should be something that is a reoccurring threat for multiple teams, because this creature has no direct ties to the Dairanger. It's a third separate entity. This belongs to the Sentai universe, not just the Dairanger mythos. Now, of course, that's different with Power Rangers, because, Serpentera, the thing that they did with Serpentera was that they mentioned that it is part of Lord Zed's arsenal, and it is a machine that can destroy planets, and that it runs out of power. Meaning that you can have this Achilles heel to it, basically. Say you can't use it that much, or he doesn't destroy planets that often, simply because he just doesn't have the power to go ahead and support it. And we've seen a number of television shows and movies where certain machines cannot be utilized because they don't have a power source. Looking at Captain America, the First Avenger, Red Skull couldn't use half those weapons if he didn't have the Tesseract. But once he got the Tesseract, he was able to power all the inventions and all the devices, and of course Hydra's able to wage war and split up from the Nazis. Well, I mean, if Zed had the Tesseract, then there you go. End of the series, Earth would be destroyed, the Power Rangers would be gone. But because you have that flaw in there that you can't find a powerful enough source, well, Serpentera is not as effective. But there is no Achilles heel to this creature other than peace, basically. You need to be peaceful in order for it not to go ahead and attack you. And we know that the Sentai universe is one of conflict. No matter what dimension, no matter what time, no matter what planet, there's always going to be a source of conflict. So to establish it, it comes during conflict and tries to bring order and peace to whatever conflict it is. To just forget about it is doing a disservice to your actual franchise. And actually, here's another thing I just kind of thought of, is that when we actually watch the series, we have an idea of who... We know Daimugen tells us about the creature, But what's odd is that neither side, Gorma or Dairanger, tried to attack it and disable it. We never actually see them physically engage with the creature. Yes, it does destroy the Pachinko monster, and it does disassemble the Thunder Megazord, or its Japanese equivalent, whose name is escaping me at the moment. But and it actually tries to destroy Daimugen by stomping on it, but we never actually see them attack the creature. Because I thought my first thought was, okay, are they going to attack it and find out it's too powerful, they can't stop it? But that never happens from either side. And that's just kind of an odd thing about the series that I don't get, is that usually the villains would attack it first, get obliterated, and the good guys are like, oh, it's too powerful, we can't even stop it. But neither side makes the attempt to even disable it. Because, if this was any other Sentai series, like say it was Gokaiju, let's go back to that, Don would basically be like, well, maybe if I can get inside, I can rewire it, or I could disable this, and blah, 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 and all that. We don't even get that within the series. Of course, none of the characters other than Ren's grandfather has any technical knowledge, and of course, he's not here during some of these events. They never explore that. It's there. We have to stop. There's no other option here. We can't make it leave unless we stop fighting. We can't rewire it. We can't change it. We can't do any of that stuff. So that's also an interesting thing to it. So ultimately, what am I getting? I know I tend to ramble on, and it's only one character that only appeared in a handful of episodes, but it just really bothers me that you create this. Let me put it this way. People create interesting characters who never reappear again after initial creation, even if they have very loyal fan base and following, or interesting story to go ahead and tell. I mean, let's go back to Captain America: The First Avenger. Actually, one of my favorite characters, if not my favorite character in that film, was Tommy Lee Jones's general character. But he never appeared in any of the other Marvel films up to this point. We get a picture of him in Winter Soldier, but beyond that, there's nothing else. Now, I understand that it is the story of Steve Rogers, Captain America, but consider from that film, we are getting, Howard Stark and his lineage and what's going on with his family in the Iron Man movies. Agent Carter is now getting her own television series on ABC. Zola reappeared in the next movie. And just about everybody, and the Red Skull is going to come back at some point, let's be honest about that. And of course, the big MacGuffin in the movie, the Tesseract, is the integral plot point for the Avengers. Yet the character that I liked most, and I like seeing more of in that film, does not reappear at any other point. And as a fan, I'm actually disappointed in that. But let's put it in the context here of Super Sentai, where you have this all-powerful, immense being that never reappears again. And I'm sure there are some fans that love it, I think it's cool, has a toy when it originally came out, and would love to go ahead and see a reappearance. I mean, I saw fan art on DeviantArt for this creature, and that tells me a lot. I mean, anybody that's willing to do fan art of a character that only appeared for like 20 episodes in a show 20 years ago, I think that's something. I think that's kind of important in a lot of ways. But I don't know why this creature hasn't reappeared. And I know we're probably not going to get a sequel of Dairanger, but how great would it be if Tokyuger or Ning Ninja had to deal with this creature somewhere in the future? Maybe they would destroy it once and for all. Because, if the creature is destroyed, then yeah, I get it. Then we don't have to deal with it ever again. But by the end of Dairanger, and this may be a spoiler, it is not destroyed. It just goes off into space, never to be seen again. And the whole reason it's brought to Earth has no bearing on its return ever again. And we don't know what it is. Maybe it did get destroyed. Maybe it got lost out there somewhere or ran out of power. We don't know that. But an explanation would be nice. And that's all I'm asking, is give us an explanation. If you're not going to bring it back in, give us a good reason why. And if you can't think of a good reason why it wouldn't return, then bring it back and destroy it. That just seems the reasonable way to me. But again, I've rambled on enough about this, and I want to know what you guys think. Do you think that the Daijinryu should come back within the series? Do you think that what do you think about it? Was it necessary to resolve the plot? Should we bring it back? whether it's a connected universe or not, I think this character should be in there. But what do you guys think? Well, I want to thank you for listening to me here today. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. And the tavern is now closed.